I believe that what we practice and how we practice yoga on our mats reflects what we will do and how we will do it in our yoga, which is our life off of our mats as well. So I wanted to read to you something from The Teaching of Buddha by Budyo Dendo Kyokai. The secret of health for both mind and body is not to mourn for the past, nor to worry about the future, but to live in the present moment wisely and earnestly. So as yogis, we're always trying to live in the present moment. Today, we will practice presence on our mat. So I do think that being present gives you a present of more gratitude and more awareness. You have more grounding in this moment so that you're not so worried about what might happen in the future or mourn for your past. So I will give you cues as we go through our practice today to remind you to be in the present moment. This type of yoga that we've been doing in this class is a flow yoga. And one of the things I like about flowing is that you do need to stay present. We get into trouble when we hold poses, or maybe when we get to the portion of the class where we are seated, and then you're not having to worry about balance. You're going to hold the poses a little bit longer, so you don't have to really listen that much for what's going to come next, because you know, oh, I'm going to be here a little bit. In those moments, that's when you are really challenged to be present. And I'll give you the cues as we get there. But it's also up to you to use your breath as a tool. So if you're really paying attention to your breath and modulating your breath, not just having a natural breath, then you have to be present with the breath. That breath makes you be present. Another tool that you can use to be present is to really notice what you feel in places maybe you're not accustomed to feeling them. So when your feet are flat on the mat, really noticing how your feet feel. When your palms are flat on the mat, really noticing that texture underneath your hands. I'll give you those cues as we go along, but let's begin being present here. Find a seat that's comfortable for you and get a good posture here. So not just like any old posture that you would get if you were just hanging out and not paying attention or not being present, but a posture that requires you to pay attention to it. And once you have that seat, once you have that posture that requires your attention, close your eyes. Now begin paying attention to your breath. Just notice what a breath that you are not manipulating or modulating feels like. I call this your natural breath. Notice where you feel the breath physically. So maybe you feel a little air going through your nose as you breathe in and out. Maybe you feel chest, belly, back, pelvic floor expanding and contracting with the breath. And now bring online a breath that you think you'll be able to sustain for most of the practice. So make this breath a little longer than your natural breath. So that's a longer inhale, a longer exhale. And once we get moving, you might even want to add a little sound to the breath. For now, I just want you to get used to keeping this breath. It's a breath you have to pay attention to. If you notice that you've reverted back to your natural breath, just lengthen out your inhales and exhales a little bit. Keeping that breath, bring your hands to your heart. And make a commitment to be present as much as you can in your practice. not mourning for the past, not looking to the future, but being in the present moment wisely and earnestly. Bow your head towards your heart, sealing that intention for your practice there. And then separate your hands, release your hands down to your legs. Take one more inhale, lift your head up, sit taller, have that nice posture you have to pay attention to hold. And then gently open your eyes. All right, friends, if you're playing music, now's the time to start. I do have a Spotify playlist for you if you're interested in that. Look for me on Spotify, EDYM428. And then once you found me, there should be a folder that says virtual yoga. And we're already up to virtual yoga 8/11, August 11th. And then tap or press play when you're ready. And then we'll stand on our mats. So stand with your feet about hip width distance apart. And lift your toes up if you can. Lift your toes up from the mat as much as you can. Spread the toes as wide as you can, and then lower the wide toes back down to your mat. Let your hands hang down by your sides. Close your eyes just for a moment. Notice, be present with what the soles of your feet are feeling. The texture of your mat, the warmth or coolness of your mat. Come into this practice of noticing. Open your eyes, and as you inhale, sweep your arms out to the sides and up overhead. Interlace your fingers there. Turn your palms up to the sky, as if your palms had magnets on them, and the clouds above you had a magnet that was pulling your hands up. Feet stay rooted, lifting, stretching up here. And then exhale, unlace, sweep your arms out and back behind you, interlace your hands there. Notice how your palms feel, skin on skin, and then lift your hands away from your back, keeping your chest lifted. Notice your breath, try to keep a rhythm to your breath, this intentional breath. Release your hands back down, unlace, sweep the arms out, take your hands up overhead. You're gonna lace your hands again here, palms staying together. Maybe keep your index fingers pointing up. Try to get your biceps near your ears. We're going to do a little circling around to open up the thoracic spine, the mid to upper back. So as you exhale, bow forward a little bit. Fingers pointing forward just slightly. And then as you inhale, sweep around to the right. And then back behind you, a little back bend, and then over to the left, and then back to the starting point, that slight bow forward. 2 more circles around. As you're circling, notice where you feel the stretch. Side bodies, back body, front body. 1 more time around in this direction. And then when you get back to that slight forward bend, circle around to the left. 3 times in this direction, taking your time to really notice, be present with what you're feeling in your body, and be present with the breath. I've got 1 more circle around. And then come right back upright. Unlace your fingers, sweep your arms out and down, interlace behind you. This time, bend your elbows, and so you've got 1 fist behind you. Take that fist over to the right. And then take your left ear towards your left shoulder. Try to get both shoulders to slope down a little bit, stretching the right side of your neck. And you can play with this a little bit, tilting your head, keeping your left shoulder towards your left ear. Maybe you tilt your face forward a little bit, or press back into the back of your head a little until you get to the place where you feel that you need the most stretch into the side of your neck. Take a breath in. As you exhale, draw your chin down towards your chest, looking down at the floor, and then bring that one fist you made around to your left. Lift your head up, and then take your right ear towards your right shoulder. Try to get both shoulders to lower down a little bit. Another way of thinking about that is drawing the shoulder blades down your back. And then again here, keeping your right ear towards your right shoulder, you can nod your head forward a little and take it back a little. And then bring your chin down towards your chest, looking straight down at the floor. Take your hands around behind your back. Unlace your fingers. Lift your head up and bring your hands to your heart. So we'll stand right up at the top of the mat here. Inhale, both arms up high overhead, touch your palms together. Exhale, forward bend, fold down. We'll take a few breaths in the forward bend. Hold on to opposite elbows. Keep as much of a bend in your knees as you need. Don't overstretch here. This is early in the practice for a deep forward bend. So just listen to the backs of the legs. Be present with them. Take a big inhale through your nose. Push it out through your mouth. Release your hands down to the floor or towards the floor. Inhale, lengthen forward halfway, pull your belly in. Exhale, downward facing dog. Notice how your palms feel, how your fingertips feel on your mat. Notice how the soles of your feet feel. Big inhale through your nose again. Exhale through your mouth. Next inhale, come into plank pose. On your exhale, lower, chaturanga. Inhale, cobra. Tops of the feet press into the floor. Exhale, lower down to your mat. Locust pose or Shalavasana. Take your hands behind your back. Interlace your fingers again. Lift the fronts of your shoulders away from your mat. Lift your belly up away from the mat. And then as you inhale, lift your legs. Lift your chest. Notice how those muscles across your back body feel. And notice if you're not using your legs enough, maybe lift those legs up a little bit more. And then exhale, lower everything down. And notice how it feels to let go of those strong muscle contractions in the back. Downward facing dog. Walk your feet up to the top of your mat. Fold over your feet. Inhale, rise up. Palms touch. Notice how your palms feel skin on skin against one another. Exhale, hands to your heart. So when I talked about breathing earlier, I said maybe you make a little sound with your breath once we get moving. This is called Ujjayi breath. It's just a gentle toning in your throat so that you hear your inhale, hear your exhale. Some people call it Darth Vader breath. Hands to your heart, maybe Ujjayi breath. Inhale, lift up. Exhale, float down. Inhale, lengthen out. Exhale, take your vinyasa. I'll meet you in downward dog. Well, that's where we'll all meet. You flow through using your breath to guide you. All forms of the vinyasa are acceptable here. From downward facing dog, inhale, right leg back and up behind you. Bend your knee and twist open. And again, notice what you feel in your body and where you feel it. Inhale, stretch your leg back, square your hip. Exhale, lunge your foot to the front of your mat. Come up to warrior two. Get steady in your warrior two. Gaze is out past your front hand, trying to get the front thigh bone parallel to the ground. On your exhale, side angle pose. First option is right forearm on the thigh. Second option is right fingers to the ground, either in front of or behind your right leg. Left arm stretches right over the ear. Notice, feel that stretch across the left side body. And then inhale, lift back up to warrior two. Exhale, reverse warrior. Bring your right bicep right near your ear and reach those right fingers back behind you as you reach your right knee forward. Notice what you feel there. Inhale, lift up, turn to face the left long side of your mat. So square your feet up, straighten both legs. We'll take eagle arms here. So left arm is under the right arm. Maybe your palms touch, maybe the backs of your hands touch. Take a breath in, exhale, forward bend. Working those forearms close to the floor or maybe down onto the floor. Think about letting the shoulder blades separate from one another here, getting a stretch across the upper back and the outer shoulders. Be present with that feeling. And then inhale, lift back up. Take a little back bend here with your eagle arms. Inhale, back upright, take your arms up overhead, so biceps near your ears, and then pivot around to the front of your mat for warrior one. So your back heel will stay on the ground, front toes point forward, open across your chest here. Maybe take your arms a little bit wider, and then exhale. Hands down to the floor, one leg dog, lift your right leg high to the sky. You have an option for a one leg vinyasa here, or both feet on the ground, or both feet on the ground and hold your downward dog. You can do as much flowing as you like in any of my classes, but in this class in particular, because you all know that vinyasa or that mini vinyasa so well, don't let it be routine. Let it be something you notice, each pose and each transition between the poses. From downward facing dog, inhale left leg, back and up. Bend your knee and twist open. And again, take a breath or two here just to notice what you feel, what is stretching, what is supporting you here. And then inhale, stretch the left leg back, square your hip. Exhale, lunge your foot to the front of your mat. Lift up to warrior two. Feel the mat beneath your feet. Keep your breath intentional. On your exhale, side angle pose. You decide what version you want here. And then once you land in your version, be present with the pose. Inhale, lift up to warrior two. Exhale, reverse warrior. And really accentuate that left side body stretch by reaching your left fingers back and reaching your left knee forward. Inhale, come back up. Turn to face the right long side of your mat, squaring your feet up, coming into eagle arms with the right arm under the left arm. And then exhale, forward bend. Reaching those forearms towards the floor. Don't get caught up in whether or not they get there. Let your mind be with what's happening in your body. And then inhale, lift back up, keeping the eagle wrap. Take a little back bend here. Inhale, back up. Unravel the arms, take them up overhead and pivot to face the front of your mat in warrior one. Back heel is rooting. And notice if you can get more opening across the chest by widening the hands apart from one another, or maybe coming into cactus arms. And then exhale, hands to the mat, one leg vinyasa with the left leg lifted behind. Flow on. Let it be intentional. Don't just go through these poses just because you know them. Let the breath be intentional, maybe with a sound. Notice what you feel in your body as you move pose to pose. From downward dog, bring your feet to the top of your mat. So that can be a long walk. Well, not too long, we don't have all day. It could be a bunch of steps. It could be 2 big steps, maybe a hop or a handstand up to the top of your mat. And then inhale, rise up, touch your palms together. Exhale, bring your hands to your heart and just check in here. Are you being present? Second flow now. Inhale, lift up. Exhale, float down. Inhale, lengthen forward. Make your way through your vinyasa. Maybe this time you jump back to chaturanga. From downward dog, inhale, right leg back and up behind you. Just one time. Exhale, knee to nose. Okay, I wasn't quite honest with you. Stretch your leg back and up behind you. One more time, knee to nose. And then this time, plant your foot at the top of your mat. Come up to warrior one. So that was 2. Sorry about that. Inhale, rise up into your warrior one. And again, be present with the pose. You're not a statue. Just move around in a way that lets you feel like you're getting some broadening across the chest and an actual back bend into your upper back. On an exhale, hands to your heart, twist to the right. So bring your left elbow across, twist around. And while you're twisting, I want you to squeeze your abdominal muscles in and up to help you with the twist around. Inhale, lift back up, turn to face the left alongside of your mat again. Take your hands behind your back, interlace, draw the shoulders back. Toes are pointing forward or maybe even slightly in. Exhale, forward bend, fold forward. And once you fold it in, mindfully bring your hands away from your back. It's easy to overstretch in the shoulders. That leads to injury. When we're not being mindful, when we're not being present in our yoga practice, that's when we can injure ourselves. So really listen to your breath, listen to those shoulders. And then release your hands down to the mat. We'll take 4 side lunges here. First, bending into the left knee. Inhale to straighten, exhale, bend into the right knee. One more time to the left. And then when you take that side lunge over into your right knee, we're gonna stay there and we'll add on a twist here. So with your right arm inside the right leg, reach your fingers out to the side. I like, if you get low enough, maybe you can be on the heel of your left foot, toes pointing up. If you're a little bit higher, your toes will stay down onto the ground. As you inhale, sweep your left arm out to the left and up, rotating around and opening. And then inhale, hand back down to the mat. Turn, pivot on your feet to face the front of your mat. Hands will stay on the floor. Bring your back foot in about 1 inch. Lower the heel down, and then straighten your right leg. Work on squaring your hips. So unless you've got a mirror in your room, you can't really see them. Oh, I guess you can see yourself on the screen. Bring your front of your left hip down a little bit and draw the outer right hip back a little. And notice how that might change the stretch in the front leg. As you exhale, bow over your front leg. Back out of that bowing just a little bit, and then sway your hips side to side. So really exaggerate the sway. Take your hips way over to the right. Notice what you feel there. Inhale to the middle. Exhale, take your hips way over to the left. Notice what you feel there. And then go back and forth a couple more times. When my hips go to the right, I get a good inner thigh stretch on that right leg. And when they go to the left, Get a little bit of an IT band stretch on the left leg. Come back to the center. One leg dog. Take your right leg back and up. Stay with me here. Keep that right leg lifted. Come into one leg plank. Right leg is still lifted. 3 times. Exhale. Bring your right knee to the outside of the left elbow. Inhale back to one leg plank. Exhale. Pull it in and across. Working those abs in the twist. One more time. Pull across. Back to one leg dog. And now you can take your one leg vinyasa or whatever you want to do here. Again, be with your breath, maybe a little sound in the breath to help call you into what you're doing, into the present. Okay, second side. Inhale, left leg back and up behind you. I won't tell any stories on this side. Twice, we're going to bring the knee to the nose. Exhale, knee into nose. Inhale, left leg back and up. This time when the knee comes into the nose, plant your foot at the top of your mat. Warrior one. Listen to yourself. Listen to what gets you a deeper opening across the chest, across the front of the body. And then exhale, hands to your heart. Twist to the left, bring the right arm across. Rotate around. While you're here, you can get a really good twist just by pressing your arm into your leg. See if you can squeeze into the abs. That's going to help support your back as you twist around. And then inhale, lift up, turn to face the right long side of your mat. Take your hands behind your back. Other thumb is on top when you interlace your hands. Draw the shoulders back. And then exhale, forward bend. And start to bring your hands away from your back as you fold over. Being present with your body, not forcing it to do anything it's not ready for. Release your hands down to the mat, unlacing your fingers. We'll take 4 side lunges here, starting into the right knee. These can be really low, or you can keep them pretty high. Just trying to get a little inner thigh stretch, outer hip stretching, and back of the leg stretching. When you bend into your left knee, you're going to hold right there, and then we'll do that twist. So take your left arm on the inside of the left leg, and then fingers out to the side. Sweep your right arm up to the sky, twisting open. See if you can use your core to help you twist a little bit more. And then inhale, hands down to the mat. Pivot around to face the front of your mat. Bring the back foot in about 1 inch and lower the heel down. Straighten the left leg. And then just use your own proprioception to figure out where your hips are in space. To square, maybe pull the left hip back a little bit more and front of the right hip down. Notice if that changes anything in the stretching here for you in this pose, and then fold over your leg. Inhale, lift up out of the fold a little bit, and then take the hips way over to the left, and then swing way over to the right, and then go back and forth on your own a few times at your pace. All right, come back to the center. 1 leg dog. Take your left leg back and up behind you. And then come into a 1 leg plank. So that left leg stays lifted. 3 times. Exhale. Bring your knee across to tap the right elbow. Inhale back to 1 leg plank. Exhale. Reach across. Inhale. 1 leg plank. One more time, reach over. This time, one leg downward dog, left leg is lifted. One leg vinyasa option for you here. You might even notice as you go through pose and counter pose of the vinyasa, do you like more forward bending or do you like more back bending? From downward dog, bring your feet to the top of your mat. Inhale, lift up. Exhale, hands to your heart. Step back a few inches, so you've got about 12 inches of mat in front of your big toes. And then bring the inner edges of your big toes together, heels just slightly apart. Hands to your heart. Chair pose. Lower the hips down and then lift the heart up. So just like in Warrior One, move your arms to the place where you're able to get a lift through the chest here. And then exhale, hands down to the mat. We're gonna go right into crow pose here. So hands down onto the mat and notice how the texture of your mat feels underneath your hands, and then put a lot of muscle energy into your hands by clawing the mat with your finger pads. Bend your knees and widen the knees out to squeeze them onto your outer upper arms. Pull your belly in and up. Look out in front of you. Take a breath in. Use an exhale with a little bit of sound to bend those elbows. Lean forward, maybe lifting one or both feet off the ground. From here, you can jump back to chaturanga or lower your feet down and then step back to downward dog. Take a vinyasa here. Yes, you're looking good on those jump backs. From downward dog, inhale, right leg back and up. Exhale, lunge your foot to the top of your mat, using your core to place it there. Inhale, lift up to Warrior Two. We've been here several times already in our practice, so try to find a way to be present, following the rhythm of your breath, noticing how your body feels. Triangle pose, straighten the front leg. When I say straighten, your knee has just the slightest bend in it. You're not dropping it down and locking the knee out, just a little bend there. Reach forward through the right hand and then right fingers to the floor, left fingers to the sky. Roll open through your top shoulder. See if you can use your core to help you twist open a little bit more, pulling your left ribs back. Bend into your right knee, lift up to Warrior Two. Oh, we've been here before. You don't really have to balance or anything here. Can you still be present? Reverse Warrior, stretch back. Take a breath in, use your exhale to get to half moon pose. So standing on that right foot, stretch the right fingers out in front, left leg back behind. Left fingers magnetized up to that cloud in the sky with the magnet in it. Use your core to help hold you stable here. We're going to keep balancing, but move the balance around. Take a breath in as you exhale. Left fingers to the floor. We'll call this grounded Warrior Three. Square your hips up here. So bring the front of the left hip down a little bit. Left kneecap and toes are pointing down towards the floor. Hug your belly in, revolved half moon pose. You really have to use your core to get that twist to the right. So lift your right hand off the ground, right fingers up to the sky, rotating around. Try to keep the back leg lifted up to hip height. Just feel where that is in your body. Keep the twist. We're going to stand in a lunge, keeping that right foot where it is, stepping the left foot to the back of the mat, crown with the head up, keeping the twist. So you've got your left arm in front, right hand behind. We'll add one more piece here. Take your right hand down to your left leg and then bring the left arm near your ear in a twisting back bend. And then exhale, hands down to the mat. One leg dog. Lift up the right leg, one leg vinyasa. If you find that when you're going through that mini vinyasa, you're just checking out, maybe stay in downward dog and focus on your breath, or take a child's pose and focus on your breath. From downward dog, inhale, left leg up. Exhale, use your abdominal muscles to plant your foot at the front of your mat. Come up to warrior two and challenge yourself to be present in this pose that we keep repeating in the practice today. Triangle pose. Left leg gets straight. That means micro bend in the left knee, and then reach forward. Left fingers touch down on your prop or on the floor. Right fingers reach up to the sky. Maybe turn your gaze up past your top hand. Rotate around. Bend back into your left knee and then lift up to warrior two again. And now reverse warrior. Where are you feeling the pose? Take a breath in, half moon pose. Stretch forward, left foot and left fingers ground you. Everything else is lifting. Right leg up to about hip height. Right fingers up to the sky. Maybe your gaze goes up past your top hand. Grounded warrior three. Right fingers to the floor or a block. Square your hips up here. And just feel, notice if your right leg is lifted to hip height. It has a tendency to want to drop down, or some people rotate the hip up. So try to keep the hips square, leg lifted to hip height, and then we'll take revolved half moon pose. So you'll lift the left fingers off the ground and up to the sky, rotating around. Take a breath here. Keep the twist as you step back into a lunge. Back foot to the back of the mat. Right arm in front, left arm behind. And then we'll add that twisting back bend. Back hand touches down on the back leg. Right arm comes right near your ear, leaning back. And then exhale, windmill your hands to the mat. Last one leg flow. Take your left leg up and flow on. We're gonna meet on our bellies. So if you're in the flow, after you do your back bend, lower back down to your belly. If you're not flowing, just find a way down to your belly. So things are gonna start slowing down for us a little bit here. This is when it gets challenging to stay present. So come back to that breath. Come onto your forearms, elbows under the shoulders, palms down onto the mat. Try to draw the top of your head down towards the floor, and then try to pull the tops of your shoulders away from your ears. So gliding shoulder blades down the back, trying to get the bottom tip of the shoulder blades towards your waist. Let the head hang down here to stretch across the back of the neck. And then you can move your chin, keeping it close in towards your chest, over towards one side and then the other. If you find a spot where you need a little more time, you can pause there. So really noticing what you're feeling in the back of your neck, maybe down into your upper back. Bring your chin to the center and then inhale, lift your head up. Take your left forearm and make it parallel to the front edge of your mat. Bend your right knee, reach back with your right hand or a strap, hug your heel in towards your hip. So we're gonna get the quad opener here, front of the right thigh to open here, while also taking a little back bend. Squeeze the shoulder blades towards one another on your back. Isometrically pull that whole left forearm back towards your ribs. Lift your gaze forward, bending into your upper back. And then exhale, release. We'll go to the second side. So right forearm is now parallel to the front of your mat. Bend your left knee, reach back with your left hand, grab on. So take a couple of breaths just to be with the thigh opener. And then we'll add that back bend. Isometrically pull your right forearm back towards your ribs, lift your chest forward and up, take your gaze forward. And then exhale, release all the way down to the floor. So here we'll take Dhanurasana or bow pose. Bend both knees, reach back with your hands, grab onto your feet, noticing how palms against feet feels. And then really pull the belly in and up. This will help protect your low back. You want to have the slightest tone into your glutes. You don't want the glutes to really be squeezing in a lot. They're big, strong muscles. So they will overrule everything else because they're so strong. So you just want a little tone there. With the front of the shoulders away from the mat, take your gaze forward, take a big breath in, keeping the belly strong, and then exhale, lift away from the floor. Being present with this pose, noticing where you feel the strength in the pose and where you feel an opening in the pose. And then exhale, release down, stretch the legs back. Push your way up to all fours, hands and knees. Exhale, cat. And inhale, cow. If that feels really good for you, do a couple more rotations of cat and cow. And if you've had enough, we're gonna come to a seat on our mat and stretch the legs out in front. No rush. When you're ready, legs straight, arms up overhead, and then bow forward. This is another pose where it's really easy to check out. So to bring your mind to mourn what was before, or to bring your mind to what you think is going to happen in the future, try to be present. And there are different, besides your breath, in this pose, notice how your hands feel against your feet or your legs, wherever they're touching. Maybe check out your feet. Notice if it's time for that pedicure that you give yourself at home. I don't know, maybe you can go out and get one somewhere now. I don't know. And then inhale, lift back up. We're going to take the legs wide. Kneecaps and toes pointing up towards the ceiling, heels pressing down into the floor. It's better to make the muscles on the backs of the legs work and have a little bend in the knees than it is to let the legs go slack here. We want to keep the muscles on the backs of the legs working by pressing the heels down and having the slightest bend in the knees so that as those muscles are working, we don't overstretch them. It's easy to do in this position. Take your hands out in front and then walk them forward. So you might come down to your elbows or elbows on a block or a prop. Check in with yourself here. Notice how the backs of your legs, your inner thighs, your low back feel. And then if you have the room for it, you can walk your hands out even more, working your chest down towards the floor. And you might notice in this wide leg seated forward bend, what the limiter is for you. So for most of us, it's all three hamstrings across the back of each leg. But for some of us, it could be the inner thighs or just that innermost hamstring. It's hard to tell the three hamstrings apart, but if you're feeling more that the limiter is just here down to the inside of your knee, that's probably that inner hamstring. So just good to notice, good to keep you present. And then inhale, walk back up. We're going to come back to hands and knees, or you might want to sit there for a moment. I'm going to show you what we're going to do for an inversion today. So any seat, hands and knees, whatever works for you. I'll show this to you. If you've been in my classes before, you've probably seen it. But from hands and knees, I'm going to have my toes tucked under. I'm going to put my right elbow down to the ground and just park the left hand out to the side because I'll eventually move it. My gaze is going to be right underneath my eyes onto the mat. Toes tucked under, I'll lift the knees up and then start to walk the left foot in. So this is the opposite foot to the elbow that's down on the ground. And then the hand that I just parked out to the side, I'm going to reach back and grab on my leg where I can. So maybe all the way down to the ankle. Keeping the gaze steady, I'm going to pull into my core and then start to lift the back leg off the mat. So it's a slow process, lifting a little bit at a time because we're balancing here, lifting the leg up. This is the pose right here. And then we will come out however we get out and then do it on the second side. So let's do it together. We'll start on hands and knees. Let's bring the right forearm down to the ground. And you want to spread those right fingers out and grip the mat a little bit. Park your left hand out to the side. Anywhere to the side works. Tuck your toes under. Look right underneath your face at your mat. If your face is really close to the mat and it's kind of trippy for you, you can take your gaze back so your focus is not so close. Strong belly, take the knees off the mat. And then start to work the left foot in to the degree that you can. Try to keep the heel on the ground as much as you can. And then take the left hand back and grab onto the outer left leg, maybe around the outer shin, maybe down to the ankle. Strong core, stay steady with your gaze, and just a little at a time, walk the left foot back. You'll eventually, as you walk it back, run out of mat. And at that point, you start to lift your right leg into the air. Stay steady with the breath. Stay with your focus. Good. How did that side go? Oh, it's that side still going. Yes. Come on down when you're ready. Y'all were looking good there. You ready for the second side? All right, I'll talk you through it. So from hands and knees, bring your left forearm down to the mat and claw the mat with your finger pads. Park your right hand out to the side, tuck your toes under. Look right underneath your eyes, underneath your face at your mat. You might eventually take the gaze back a little bit. Lift your knees off the mat and then start to walk your right foot in as much as you can. Once you're there, take your right hand back, grab around the outer edge of your leg. If you need to, you can drop the head down and take your gaze back a little bit, and then start to work the left foot back, eventually lifting it off the mat like a one-legged dog, but there's a lot of other stuff going on. There's a lot to pay attention to, a lot to be present with in the pose. Yeah, that's good. That's good. And then lower down. Good job. Come onto your back, please. So we go from here, after a few poses, we'll go into Shavasana. So if there are things you need for Shavasana, your eye pillow or shirt or whatever you're doing, make sure those are near. From your back, hug your knees into your chest. If you go slow enough, as you rock side to side, you'll really be able to notice what it feels like to put weight and sort of massage muscles on one side as you unweight the other side. Again, this practice of being present by noticing. One more time, rocking to each side. And then come to the middle. Keep your right knee in, stretch your left leg out long onto the mat. And then twist. Take your right knee to the left as you stretch your right arm back out to the right. And then maybe finally you turn your gaze to the right. Inhale, lift back up, hug both knees in again, rock across your back a couple more times. And then keep your left knee drawn in, stretch your right leg long on the mat. Twist, take your left knee to the right and reach your right arm back out to the left. Once you've landed in your twist, take your gaze out past your left hand. Maybe here you close your eyes. While staying right here in your body in this moment. Inhale, bring your knee up, rock across your back, and take a happy baby here, reaching up, grabbing onto your feet. And even in happy baby, you can rock side to side a little bit. Again, noticing the weighting and unweighting. And then we'll stretch out for Shavasana. If you're following along on the playlist I made, I don't know if I talked too long at the beginning of this practice or I made the playlist too long, but you might fast forward to the last song. It's called Colorado. As you find your corpse pose, pay a lot of attention to your back body. Just notice how it feels, and then we're gonna let that back body go on a really deep exhale. So take a big inhale, And then as you exhale, just let your back body sink into your mat. Let any intentional breath go. Come back to your natural breath. And then scan your body. So again, this is paying attention. Notice if there are parts that are resisting this pose, resisting the letting go of the pose. This could be across your face, excuse me, your jaw. It could be across the palms of your hands, especially where your thumb connects into your palm. You might be holding tension in your belly or across your chest. Wherever you find that tension, use your next few exhales to let it go. And now just allow yourself to be body, mind, and heart sinking together, connecting. Take these last few moments of Shavasana to feel the earth beneath you. Notice how your clothes feel against your body. Take your thumb and draw it across your other finger pads, noticing sensation there. Move your toes, wiggle your toes around. Stretch your arms overhead. One more time, lengthen out top to bottom. And then as you exhale, roll over to your right side if you can, if not, left side. Take a moment here to honor your ability to practice being present on your mat, to practice a deep awareness. of body, mind, heart, and breath. And then work your way up to a seat. Once you're there, bring your hands to your heart and close your eyes. Notice how your palms feel against one another. Notice how you feel after completing the physical part of your practice. The secret of health for both mind and body is not to mourn for the past, nor to worry about the future, but to live the present moment wisely and earnestly. May you do so as you go throughout your day. We'll take one moment, a few breaths, to join our energy together and direct it to those in need. Namaste. Thanks, everybody.